we're looking at 8 games tonight. And I thought, well, I might as well spend some extra time and look up as much information as I can on tonight's games. Buffalo is in Pittsburgh. Buffalo's 4-5-1 in their last 10. Pittsburgh's 4-4-2. Buffalo's 15th in the East. Pittsburgh's 7th in the East. Eichel, 8 games without a goal. Crosby, 11 games without a goal. And there's a lot of talk about what's wrong with Crosby, what's affecting him, why is this going on. But tonight we'll see whether or not that becomes 12 or if he finally gets off the snide. Dallas is in Florida. Dallas has the number 1 power play. Their power play's been excellent. To me, their issue's been penalty killing, and finally, Hitchcock has broken up the Radulov-Sagan-Benn line. And I say finally because you can't have all your offense on the same line. And for Dallas, that's been an issue this year. So he's trying to spread the wealth offensively, and we'll see whether or not that works out for them. Florida is 16th in the conference. They're last. And after tonight's game, they're headed to California for that valley of death that California often is. And it doesn't look good for Florida. I mean, they're dead last in the East. Luongo's the supposed starter tonight. Now, he's against Lehtinen. Now, Lehtinen had a very good game the last time he played. But expecting that 2 games in a row is tricky with Lehtinen. I really, truly wish him the best. I hope he does well. But this, to me, if there's an upset tonight, that's it. Columbus is in Montreal. So Lindgren's putting up gaudy totals. 1.24 goals against average and a .964 save percentage. Montreal's still 13th in the East, even though they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. Columbus is 5-4-1. They're 5th. And tonight might be Jordan Schrader's debut as a Columbus Blue Jacket. Which, as a Canuck fan, I'm always interested to see how Jordan does. Decent utility forward for Minnesota, and now he gets to go to their expansion brethren in Columbus and prove himself again. I'd always kind of hoped that Schrader would stay in Minnesota, the hometown thing, and that he'd develop into more of an offensive threat than he's shown to this point in his career, and if he was going to show it, he would have shown it by now. But you would have made real money betting that Jordan Schrader would outlast Cody Hodgson in the NHL. And still not be a regular. You would have won real money back when Schrader was drafted on that one. Arizona's in Winnipeg. So it's the Jet Cup again. The Jets won the first matchup. Now we're in Winnipeg for the second matchup. Arizona's 2-6-2 in its last 10. Washington 6-1-3. It's Ronta against Hellebuck tonight. Arizona is easily the worst. And yet Tocchet says that they're playing their best hockey right now. And I will somewhat agree with that. I think there's some issues still with Arizona that really have to get straightened out before they're going to start winning with any regularity whatsoever. And at this point, it's going to be a locker room that's so down from the amount of losses they've had. The fact that it's not even, well, it's what, November 14th, and they're basically eliminated from the playoffs already. It's humiliating. So they have to get some pride wins here, and they should start with beating Winnipeg if they want to get any respect over the coming days and weeks. Tonight, Dale Hawerchuk gets inducted into the Winnipeg Jets Hall of Fame from version 1 of the Winnipeg Jets, now the Arizona Coyotes for Winnipeg version 2. He joins the Hotline, which got inducted last year, and it's a good thing to have, actually. I think the Canucks have their honor wall, their respected ones, and there's an honor wall in Toronto as well. I think a Hall of Fame for each team is fun. I think it's a good thing to do, and I think it's another way to respect guys who defined your franchise, who may not go into the actual Hockey Hall of Fame, but definitely belong in their team's Hall of Fame. So that's the 4 in the top row. Let's get to the bottom row. So Vegas is in Edmonton, and if there's an unpredictable game in the league tonight, it's this one. Vegas is 5-4-1 in their last 10. Edmonton's 4-4-2. Vegas stands 3rd overall. Edmonton stands 14th. Now, there's an interesting aspect to this. Edmonton's terrible at home. They're 3-6 at home this year. Their penalty kill is running at 54%. So 46% of the time, teams score on the power play. Now, you look at Vegas, and they have a power play running at 20.3%. That's a very good power play. And really, when you have a first-year team, and maybe you don't have the talent of some of the other teams in the league, or any of the other teams in the league, depending on the expansion, if you have good special teams, you'll win some games. So as long as Vegas can kill a penalty and score on a power play, they will win games that otherwise they probably would not. So I look for Vegas to frustrate Edmonton tonight. Lagasse is still going to be starting. Talbot's starting. That should be a monster mismatch. But with the way Vegas plays, it doesn't really matter who's in net. Elliott and Dubnyk. Here we go. It's Philly and Minnesota again. Minnesota won the last matchup. 1-0. Of course, Jason Zucker has to be feeling pretty good about himself. He got 4 goals in the last 2 games. The only 4 goals scored by Minnesota in the last 2 games. And they were both shutouts for Devan Dubnyk. So this is a statistical anomaly that is really weird, and I do wonder if it's ever happened before. My guess would be no. But, I don't have the record book in front of me, and I don't have a record book that would track that specific item. So here comes Philly. They, of course, lost the first meeting of the year with Minnesota. This is the second and last. They lost that first meeting 1-0 at home. It was the 4th time they've been shut out this year. They've been shut out twice in the last 5 games. And yet Philly's offense is rated pretty high considering they've been shut out 4 times this season already. They're on pace for 16 times in terms of how many times they get shut out. As long as they can get off to a good start, maybe get to Dubnyk early, Philly can win this. But Philly's 11th in the East. They can't afford to continue to just have bad luck and some bad bounces and some calls against them. This really has to turn around pretty darn quick. We're almost on American Thanksgiving when everybody's going to take these standings seriously. I haven't taken them seriously since the 1st of November. And both Minnesota and Philadelphia are out of the playoffs right now. So that's something that has to change. Vancouver's in LA. The Valley of Death continues. So the Canucks lose 4-1 to Anaheim. Then they lose 5-0 to San Jose. It's a game that, yes, the score looked really awkward and horrible, and yet Vancouver didn't play badly. They just don't have any finish, which is why they're 27th in goals per game. They're 28th in power play, and you're not going to win with those kinds of numbers, no matter how well Markstrom plays tonight. And last I saw, he was the likely starter. I didn't see a confirmation yet. And he's against Quick, who's also a likely starter, according to what I read. But LA sits 2nd in the conference, and Vancouver is 9th. So if the playoffs started right now, Vancouver would not make it. LA's number 1 with a 2.41 goals against, and they have the best penalty kill in the league. So you tell me, a team that can't score and can't score on the penalty kill goes up against the best defensive team who has a great penalty kill. This could be a very lopsided game, or at the very least it could be a very low-scoring game with the Canucks potentially getting shut out two games in a row. I could see it. And Washington and Nashville. So we'll finish with this one. Both teams are decent in the last 10. One of them is 6-4, the other one's 6-3-1. Notice that the best record of the last 10 games out of any of the teams that are playing tonight is Montreal with a 7-3 record. Almost everybody else has won 4 or 5 games in their last 10. It's very evenly matched league, as I've said a few times. So Holtby's starting, Rinne's starting. Nashville's won 4 in a row. They both stand 6 in their respective conferences. Holtby has a .927 save percentage, and Rinne has a .929. And both of them got beat out by the Penguins last year in the playoffs. So that could be a very interesting matchup. Forsberg has a record against Washington, which is excellent. He scores a lot against Washington. It's funny how when a team gives you up as a prospect, you'll tend to come back to haunt that team as an NHLer. It's a good thing they traded him outside of the conference. I have a feeling that if if Forsberg played Washington with regularity, his numbers would be even more gaudy. But anyways, there you go. There's your 8 games. There's going to be some really solid action tonight. I'm not sure which one I'm going to watch first. I'm half tempted to watch Dallas and Florida since I have a feeling Dallas could lose that one. I'm not being fooled by Arizona again. So Vegas and Edmonton. And if I'm a masochist, I may watch Vancouver and LA. But it's going to be fun. Let me know which games you guys are going to be watching tonight. Let me know which storyline you expect to change tonight. Will Eichel and Crosby score tonight? There's a question. So both of them haven't scored in about a month's time. So this is a good time to start scoring again. Especially with Eichel saying he needs to shoot more. So this is a good night to do it. You've got a Pittsburgh team that's vulnerable and on the ropes. And, you know, by all means, take them out if you can. Because if you don't take them out early, this is one of those games where Pittsburgh could just come back and steamroll somebody. And Buffalo is not a team that's immune to being steamrolled. Let me know what you guys think. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.